What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 6. I've lost track at this point. We've had a lot of lives. We've had a lot of things going on here at Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Osland and William Updike. We got a lot of good stuff we're talking today. We're talking Summer League, how impressed we are so far with Jordan Miller and Kobe Brown, some Zach LaVine stuff, and some roster stuff as a whole. And, of course, all the Intuit reveals and dips. But before we get into all of that, Will, Adam, how are you guys doing? I went to the DMV today. Hey, if you respect the DMV and give it the proper, if you get what you give with the DMV is all I'm going to say.
Will, out of here, DMV sympathizer.
Did you pre-select the appointment? Because I feel like if you schedule an appointment, it's really not that big of a deal. If you're showing up uninvited, you got some problems.
That's what I mean. I set an appointment. It was for 1:40. I got there at like 1:30. They saw me by 1:35. I got a temporary ID thing. I was out in 15 minutes. This is the Hollywood DMV.
That must be why they have the reputation they have, because it's just shuttling through people.
You gotta respect it.
Gotta respect it. I'll give it this: the DMV has gotten better over the last decade. I do feel like it used to be much worse.
Yeah, when I got my first license, it took forever.
Pre-appointment, sure. But we could talk about the DMV all day. Adam, how are you doing? You've been doing all these Uncle Osland Summer League sessions. You've been in the lab, as the kids say.
We'll be in the lab some more Sunday and Monday. Should the Clippers make it that far into the tournament, it looks like they'll at least be one of the final four teams. But I definitely plan on doing a live on Sunday if one of you fine gentlemen want to join me after the game. Clippers playing somebody. Semifinals, baby. They're rolling their way into the semis. As Chuck has, do you have a Arvydas Sabonis Lithuanian shirt on?
Yeah, my mom's side of the family is from Lithuania, so I have one of these shirts.
That's badass.
That's not why you have it. You have it, someone bought it for you from a vintage store.
Well, yeah, but my parents are Lithuanian, so I got
it. It wasn't passed down from your.
Oh, that would be
not a family heirloom.
I would have sold it had it been an original.
Was it up someone's ass like the watch in Pulp Fiction?
I have this hat because my dad, he wore hats.
There you go. That makes total sense.
The hat.
How are you doing, Will?
It's not because I bought a hat at a store.
With your FBI nondescript hat.
I like a blank hat. I like a blank hat because I feel like your other options are a brand, which most hats aren't that cool, in my opinion, or a team hat, which is great, but can't really wear it to work. So that's where I'm at. I'm good. I'm having a good time. It was hot. It was hot as shit out today. My very tiny dog is doing okay, though.
Okay. Glad that Louis is doing okay. It is hot as shit, and it's only going to get hotter. Speaking of hot, the Clippers Summer League team, 4-0. Dante Jones got the guys playing with some good defensive mindsets. The two, standout guys in terms of like actual maybe playing NBA minutes are Kobe Brown and Jordan Miller. Jordan Miller's been fantastic. This has been the best possible Summer League for him at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're a Clippers fan.
Especially because he proved game one wasn't a fluke. He consistently has been very good on both ends, whether the three ball is available or not. He's getting downhill. He's getting to the free throw line. He's forcing the action. He's putting pressure on the rim. He's just been relentless with his aggression out there.
Law was writing some good stuff about the handoffs they're using with Jordan Miller. It's allowing him to show what he can do when he gets into the paint and things like that. And he mentioned the deceleration, which is very interesting when you also think about he's on a team with someone who is like the best, or at one point was the best decelerator in the league, which was James Harden.
Good on Law. I mentioned that after my live on Friday night. No, the deceleration is real. That is kind of the, I don't know, one of the telltale signs of the development of a young player is little stuff, I think, like that. I think that's truly what shines about Jordan Miller, the attention to detail. He talked about, I think Justin Rousseau had an article about him too. What, Rousseau?
French Canada's finest.
It's something he started working on after guys were successful against him with it. Said, I need to add that to my bag. And you can see it. It's been really cool to watch the progression of Jordan Miller.
And he's got the no-dip threes. He's hit a couple like Batum-esque threes, which I feel like the 25-point scoring is great, but also seeing him do these things that would be called upon in like actual NBA game situations. Like he's obviously not going to be a high volume guy.
I think that's actually been the best part about the Jordan Miller experience so far is like the scoring is great and like the peaks of what we've seen. But with a team like the Clippers and the way they kind of develop or their lack of development for young guys, it's nice to see that Jordan Miller already has some of those sort of Clipper qualities that you can see. You can see a pathway for him into the rotation. He's not a guy who has to have the ball a lot. He's a guy who can contribute defensively, and he has he has some pep in his step. So just all things that the Clippers really are looking for and need in guys, especially if you consider that the Clippers aren't going to make another move. If you're in the camp where, I think we're accelerating, at a higher speed every day towards that sort of conclusion to free agency. That makes a pathway for him to get minutes even more wide open. So that's exciting as well for me. Like normally. Normally, even if we had a guy putting up these
last
kind of numbers,
couple of years,
the last 5 years, like if we had, if we had a guy even having this great of a summer league, it'd be like, oh, this is cool in a vacuum, but there's not, depending on the player, there's not really a pathway towards minutes.
Cool in a vacuum, what we all hope to be. And I didn't realize he has like almost a 7-foot wingspan, which I didn't realize. It's like 6'11". Which is real nice for
so not 7 foot.
Oh, almost, basically. I'm sure he says 7 feet.
It says something about how good he's been that a show called Clips and Dip would celebrate a guy with no dip threes.
Wow, there we go. And then you can take that to the bank. Where does he fit in this rotation, I guess? The Clippers have a ton of guards. I don't know. We're not super deep at the wing and things like that. So, there's going to be some chances. He's going to get the Brandon Boston minute dosage, hopefully a little bit more, right?
I would think so, but this isn't going to be the final roster, so it's hard to say what the roster is going to look like come training camp. I would assume he's been too good and is at a premier position that the Clippers value to not, with him turning 25 by the end of this season, to not give him a look, at least one of those 10-game sample sizes like we saw from Kobe Brown last year.
That's a good call. Yeah, 10 games would be nice. And he's not going to be brought up. Lucas Hand was tweeting about this. He's not going to be brought up on a full contract yet because it just doesn't, like from the Clippers standpoint, it doesn't make sense to not have him be a two-way guy. So we'll just have to see, but this is the year, right? Like Will was saying, if there's going to be a year for a guy to break in, it should be this year. And you mentioned the age, Adam. I think that's a good point too.
This is a transitional phase for the Clippers, not just because they're going into a new arena, but roster construction-wise, there should be openings and minutes for young guys to show what they can do and how they can contribute in the future for this team, how they can help them out when the Clippers are back in elite championship contender mode. I don't know if you can make the argument they are currently with how they're constructed.
Not according to some of the people in our YouTube
They're not.
comments. Yeah. We're going to talk about that because we got a YouTube comment that I had to shake my head at.
We got a couple. We should.
Yeah, well, sure. And then the other guy, Kobe Brown. I have sung his praises. I wanted him to get some more time. He's gigantic. Compared to everyone else in the summer league. He had like 5 and 1s last night, 4 of which against one guy on the Jazz, which was crazy.
He's going to put the and 1 brand back on the map, I guess.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, you mentioned his size there. It's weird. I actually think, in looking at him at the free throw line on the close-ups, that he's trimmed down in some ways. He's a little bit leaner, but in a professional sense, he's not, he's not the machinist or something like that. He's not overly thin, but compared to last year, maybe he's just in better NBA shape. I don't know, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He looks leaner, but I thought that he looks like bigger as well. So I don't know, like maybe if there was like if he like made it a priority to try to put on some weight to be a little bit more league ready. You know, those guys, especially if you have to play the 4 or a small ball 5 or something like that. You're going to get pushed around. So I could see that being a priority for him, and then maybe the conditioning. You know, after seeing obviously a limited run, but still getting to see what game speed minutes are like at this next level, getting more of a taste for that. Maybe his conditioning is a lot better. He didn't play enough during the season for me to be like, oh, it seems like conditioning is going to be an issue for him necessarily. You know what I mean? He's not like a freak athlete or anything. But I like never really saw him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. But
You're not wrong. It's just like
But I never really saw him like I never really thought I saw him dogging it. But like I said, part of that is probably just due to the amount of minutes that he ended up playing. So you would think he probably, just knowing from those, changed his approach and knew that it was going to be at a different level physically than how he's ever played before. And I mean, I'm truly curious what the conversations were like internally among the front office and coaching staff, among the players and locker room, about what the future of Paul George was. Like, I don't know exactly how long people in the locker room knew that it was likely that he wasn't coming back. Obviously they had more of an inside track than we did, but you got to think as well, if you're seeing, if you're smelling an opportunity out there, like, that has got to change your entire mindset and the way that you, the way that you train and condition and approach even the summer league, which, isn't the most serious of basketball, but for a guy who doesn't have any assured place in the rotation could be a very big deal.
And playing under a guy like Tyus Jones, he's made them take it seriously, which has been awesome. Like, he has seen Kobe Bryant kind of in this, like, oh, this is serious summer league basketball, right? Tyus Jones is like, we're going to do some actual things you might be called upon. And Kobe's, again, just like Jordan Miller, up and down some games, but overall, I don't know if it's a step. Like, he's not taking a step. He's just on this path of, like, gradual improvement, close to make or break when it comes to, the power forward position for this Clippers team is pretty shallow. It's Kawhi and Batum, and that's it. So he has a chance. He definitely has a chance. The only thing that I get a little worried about is the foot speed on defense at the perimeter. You mentioned the athletic thing. Big body, obviously, can move well on offense, but there's just some that's my main concern with him on the perimeter.
Who he reminds me of overall game wise when you talk about.
Are we about to get in?
Oh, you're muted. Oh no.
I'm sorry.
You're still muted. Oh no.
Will, you owned yourself. What were you
gonna
say to me?
I was gonna say, are we about to get an Adam Osland insane comp?
Not
classic
insane
Adam Osland insane comp.
I don't know. People coming around on what I said about Cam Christie after seeing him in summer league and how good his shot looks.
We'll talk about.
I'm going to say he looks like a slightly more athletic Kyle Anderson in his game. How about that?
I love that comp.
How about that?
That's
UCLA
your best comp.
guy drafted by the Spurs, thriving in Minnesota last year. Just a connector, a guy that can do a lot of different things. I don't know if he's elite in anything, but if he's solid in all these different areas and plays good enough defense, I agree with you. I don't know if he can hang on the perimeter with some of the quickest guards out there in the league on a switch. He might get burned.
A lot of people do, though.
Yeah, totally. and Kyle Anderson, finds a way to still be a contributor.
I like that comp. That's a good comp.
It is a good comp.
So we're going to see. And then finally, Cam Christie, who a disclaimer, I think, at least from me personally, when I think about Summer League, the stats do not matter. They do in some specific instances, I think. But
tell that to Bronny James haters.
Dude, I feel so bad for him.
Tell that to the Frenchman.
Yeah, but sure, if you're like the number one pick, you want to make your shots. You know what I mean? But like Cam Christie, the form is there. The form is one of the more blissful experiences you can have watching someone shoot a 3-pointer who's that young. I don't know. It's incredible.
I told y'all This ain't Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. This is Michael Porter Jr.
We didn't say who he was, Michael.
Y'all doubted me.
No, we didn't. Will, did we ever doubt any of this?
I believe you said Paul Pierce or something, and I was like, let's not get too crazy.
I think Michael Porter Jr. with his release is real. It's somewhere between there and Devin Booker. It is God tier shooting form. And he just about to turn 19 in a couple days.
I know. It's exciting. He also, other side of the ball wise, because that's the biggest thing when you have an undersized young player is how do they look on defense. His confidence was growing with each game. He wasn't exactly like handling business on the low block, but he didn't look completely overwhelmed or anything like that. So I don't know. I hope he has some fun, insane G League stat lines. I hope he gets run there. But yeah, the form is there.
He can shoot now over anyone. Now, can he do all the other things it takes to get on the NBA court? I don't think so. I think he's too young. Even though his defense has been better than advertised, considering everybody kept saying he's got to put on size, he's got to put on muscle.
He does, though.
His footwork was pretty damn good, like staying with his opposition, staying with his primary assignment. I couldn't be more impressed. And you're right. Like, you can't just look at the box score to evaluate these things, whether or not a guy can project to be an NBA player from Summer League.
Yeah. And even, I don't know. Will, do you have any other? I mean, I feel like the jury's incredibly still out on Cam Christie, other than his shooting form and, pedigree and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, like, I still think it's an interesting pick. If Jordan Miller wasn't playing the way that he was, maybe there's a larger, there's a larger role for Christie, and we're talking about this a little bit differently. Because I wasn't discouraged necessarily by what I saw. It was kind of what I thought. I mean, that's what you're getting when you get a late second round pick. It's not that, there's a reason that they're going that late, but I still think that there's good bones there. It's just,
it's more meat on him.
He just he's just still pretty raw. Like, there's just still a lot of areas where he's going to need to develop. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not getting down on the guy, but if you're underwhelmed or disappointed by this summer league performance, I think maybe you needed to sort of check your expectations at the door with this draft pick.
And we're going to talk some expectations in the next segment, because with what this team is projecting and some of the things I've seen just floating around, I'm a little confused at some people's outlook for the season. Did anyone else in summer league pop for the Clippers? Ray J. Dennis hit the long shot. The guy from
for the love of Ray J. Dennis.
The Bannon guy from is not good.
No, 51.
Bro, it's not this year, man. Supposedly he put in last year and withdrew his name and then put in this year. I don't know.
I think Elijah Harkless, with his defensive intensity, has been kind of a tone setter at times.
For sure.
And he was pretty good for them in the G League over the last year too. So the G League guys for them, you mentioned Dante Jones and what a great job he has done with just
coach of the year, summer league
building
coach of
up
the year.
Yeah, a lot of instant chemistry and connections happening with this team, and they looked really well organized. Not like a DMV, not that good, but like pretty darn well organized.
Hey,
for a summer league team, I don't think you could expect much more than what they've been able to do, especially when you see maximum effort at the end of games and guys not just taking it upon themselves to shine and ISO and play hero ball. They come together and just tighten the screws on teams. And all of a sudden, nobody can score on them, and they're executing offensively on the other end. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen over the weekend, where they're likely going to be one of the last four standing, because I don't know how to gauge the level of competition still. Have they only been beating up? Have they had a soft schedule in summer league with the four teams they played?
The Jazz what was
their record?
I don't know what their record was, but their roster was one that people were saying, like, this is probably one of the better summer league teams the Clippers will have played. There were a couple,
Okay. Well, I want to see them be tested, because I really like how well they have played together. And some of that is G League experience, but a lot of this is just straight coaching and really trying to build an identity over a couple of weeks. This is not easy what's happening. Like this level of basketball with how crisp things have looked is not normal for the summer league, and the Clippers are doing it.
And I like that it's a through line too, right? You have the summer league team playing with a defensive identity under assistant coach Tyus Jones. In between him and Tyloo is Jeff Van Gundy, who's also a defensive guy. So like we're seeing top to bottom defensive stuff.
And he's in between Charles Oakley and Alonzo Mourning on the floor holding onto a shoe.
Fighting for dear life. Oh,
the first man to be fighting for his life out there.
Dude, it's so good. All right, coming up, we're going to talk. Lawrence Frank had a press conference, but it was not a scary one. So we're going to talk kind of the overarching themes from that, as well as the Tyus Jones stuff just not being true at all. So yeah, that's coming up. We're going to do an ad break. So if you're listening to this on audio, which we really appreciate, you can listen to us anywhere you find podcasts. But if you're watching, we're still going to be here on your screen, maybe eating chips, but quietly. We got ads coming up, and then we're talking Lawrence Frank's stuff in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back into Clips and Dip. If you're watching this over on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast, we never left. But we've talked about the Summer League roster. Now it's time to talk about some players that may or may not actually be on the roster. But let's kick things off. You mentioned it at the end of the last segment, but Lawrence Frank has some media availability. What was this about?
Let's circle back.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Who is Lawrence Frank? So the big quote from L. Frank was, "We're not going to be reckless if it affects future flexibility going further." The thesis of this, the most important thing to take away from this conference this press conference, I think, was they're waiting until after this year because there's a kind of a crazy potential max contract offering pool to go after.
In 2026.
Yeah, they're saving that max off for 2026. This press conference had a real vibe of what we remember when he was talking about how they wanted guards who basically weren't Russell Westbrook, and we didn't think we were going to get Russell Westbrook, and then we did. This had that vibe of talking about what the Clippers should do, which is not spend and basically not trade for Zach LaVine, who's making a bunch of money.
Pretty solid save the union.
That could change, depending on what things look like, right? Like they're going to have to reassess not only what they want to do in a postseason, is there an avenue for them to sort of, re-up from a talent perspective and actually make a run if we see some good process leading into the All-Star break, or another consideration will be in a new arena. Is it not enough, the team that you've currently fielded on the floor? Because that certainly will be part of the calculus too. But outside of that, I think it's pretty safe to table any sort of LaVine conversation. And it just sort of reaffirms, what we've known for the last couple of years, which is it seems as though 2030 is off the table for a potential deal.
Thank God.
And I'm curious, with these quotes, what that means for the future of our youngish guys, certainly in Terrence and Zoo, because if there's not a swing to be made, you would assume they're keeping some of that financial flexibility to retain, what of their sort of homegrown talent that they have.
Zoo counts as homegrown talent. I think we can.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
He didn't have to change hotel rooms when they got traded, even though he was on the road, because of how the road trips are working out.
Walk across the hall to the other locker room. I thought that particular moment of him addressing keeping flexibility and not being reckless. I mean, it is something I said on my plea to Clipper Nation recently. You can't be reckless if you're the front office. I think it's wise. I think they have the right philosophy. I think they had the right philosophy when they brought in Kawhi and Paul George. Things don't always work out. You can't account for everything. So I think it's encouraging overall. If you remember Clipper Nation and you're looking ahead to see how they can crack back open the championship window, it's having flexibility. It's having roster pieces that are movable. I think as soon as we saw James Harden sign the 1-1, that was the identification that, so they're not just going to lock in with James Harden for 3 years to match him up with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
They have a real chance to drastically change the team possibly after this season or in 2 years. So that to me was the initial identification of just where this Clippers team and roster is going and what the front office is thinking.
It's interesting too. He mentioned the Terrence and Zoo during this and their extensions. I'm curious if they're going to get the 4-year extension or if they're going to get 2 to line up maybe with this window that they're thinking or something like that. You know what I mean? Because we don't. I think
maybe you start at 2 from an offer perspective,
Yeah.
but like I don't see any of those guys taking a shorter deal.
Right. Yeah, like it would not totally. So
just the money's out. The money's out there, you know.
And again, this is their first time. This is the first time the Clippers front office has negotiated an extension with a player like Terrence or Zoo in a kind of a long time. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the Clippers have been handing out extensions, other than like Norm and Terrence's small one and stuff like that. Like they know what they're doing, obviously, but it's just interesting. Like this is kind of a pivotal moment in the whole 2-1-3 timeline, post 2-1-3 timeline.
Is Norm's not on the Blazers deal still? Was that a Clippers extension? I can't remember.
It was a Clippers extension.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure.
I would say if you can get them annually on a lesser contract per year, but a longer term deal with either Terrence Mann or Ivica Zubac, that could be a nice little bargaining move.
It was a Blazers one, I believe. Sorry, you're correct. Okay. So not even Norm Powell.
This is uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Other than Kawhi and Paul George extensions.
Which you're like, okay, of course. Like
that.
Yeah. So seemingly no LaVine. Seemingly no bigger swings on deck. Everyone's worried about the guards. One guard we don't have to be worried about is Tyus Jones, who is Law Murray has just killed those rooms, which I think makes sense. He's basically said like the interest was not from the Clippers side at all.
We brought up immediately, by the way, this is from someone on Hoops Hype. This is not Woj. This is not Shams. This is not I mentioned Woj. This isn't Chris Haynes. So
that's the
make of it what you will. So Ty Jones looks to be out of the picture.
Nick Wright, favorite source.
And Ty Jones might have cost them too much anyways. Like whatever his next contract is, it could be $20 million a year. So you'd have to send out PJ along with maybe Terrence Mann. Like you'd have to give up a lot to hold on to that guy. And if he's making $20 million a year, how much more are you into the luxury tax? Where they're about $2 million into it right now, I think, after the Chris Dunn deal.
I think they have a $4 million. They're like they're $4 million under it, I think. So there's like a $4 million. There's like $3 million of an MLE the Clippers can still use.
Yeah, but that doesn't count against the cap.
Oh, right.
That's why it's the exception.
I think there's still.
I thought I saw Lucas say $2 million over.
I mean, sure, I'll take it.
He's been pretty good with it. I thought they might still be under, but I don't think that's the case. Either way, they have a chance to get under, like with the moves that are still available, right?
Yeah, you trade PJ Tucker for a big fax machine or something.
Facts.
I don't know how they clear space. So, looking at it at 5:14 p.m. on July 19th, the depth chart for the Clippers is Harden and Dunn at the 1. This is from Law Murray. We're talking guys who have serious money committed to them and who are actually going to be getting playing time. So Kevin Porter Jr. is not going to be listed 3rd because they gave him like a minimum. You know what I'm saying? So it's, for all intents and purposes, it's Harden and Dunn. Shooting guard, you have Terrence Mann and Norm Powell. Small forward, you have Derek Jones Jr. and Amir Coffey. Power forward, Kawhi Leonard and Nick Batum. Center, Ivica Zubac, Mo Bamba. Law said on Twitter, anyone waiting for a power forward, hold their breath. Kobe has the shot. Obviously, he's kind of number 3. What do we, just range-wise, Will, you and I have kind of talked about this. What are you feeling about this roster right now? Let's take a step back of a schedule we haven't even seen yet. Kind of seeding-wise, where are you placing this roster?
Play-in.
Yeah. I think mid to high play-in is where I'm at. The goal of this year is see what we got, and Derek Jones Jr., see how the Terrence and Zoo maybe with more responsibility thing goes. Kawhi is Kawhi.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad roster. There's still like a question mark at the backup center position, and I don't know how we're going to be able to rebuild the wing depth that we once had, and maybe that's just not even part of their long-term plans anymore. Still a lot of guards, but it's not a bad roster. I think it fully is going to depend on how many games Kawhi misses, because without Kawhi, I mean, yeah, it's not. I don't even think it's a play-in roster.
On the West.
Yeah, not in the West.
Unless, it beats the Zubats, Terrence Mann, these guys take off, and the young guys we've talked about progress all of a sudden. It's not totally out of the question, but
Zoo grows his hair out. We can deal with a lot more Kawhi.
There's no more time. He keeps cutting that thing. The season starts in like 3 months.
Incredibly. What was the thing Homer Simpson put on his head to get the regrowth going really quick?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't Rogaine. It was something else.
Yeah. Adam, how are you viewing this roster? It's got a defensive vibe. There's not a lot of pop on the other side of the ball, but yeah, not a bad roster at all. Good plus.
And to Will's point about the wings and what direction they're going in, I mean, at least they brought in Derek Jones Jr. and Nicholas Batum back. And Chris Dunn, he can guard up. So he may not be a wing, certainly, on offense, but he can guard wings. Like they have some guys that can really dig their heels in defensively and make life difficult each and every night. I agree. They look somewhere between, the top or middle of the play-in, somewhere between 7 and 9. But again, as Will also mentioned, I don't know, tell me how many games is Kawhi Leonard going to play? Tell me how many games James Harden's going to be able to play at 35. What if I could know that those guys were playing 65 plus each?
Oh, well,
then I'd say,
sure.
They might have a chance to be the 5th or the 6th seed. They might really have a shot. I just don't know if that's realistic at this point with Kawhi Leonard at all. We've talked about it, but there will likely be some experimenting with how to use him and how many games to play him and how he's feeling. And, the load management, I guess, all the talk about him being the poster boy of load management, even though San Antonio Spurs were doing this, with older guys long before him, it's probably going to continue. It's unfortunate, but this is his body betraying him. And how do you manage that? Well, you got to do something because far it's not working. I don't know if he can be like Krang and get a new body like Ninja Turtles or anything like that. My body. But
great Krang.
Yeah, I work on my Krang often. It comes in handy once every 2 years.
Yeah.
So let me know what Kawhi's availability is before I could make any prediction on where this Clippers team's going to land in the Western Conference, which is looking deeper than ever.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, like, it feels like there's some people who were kind of worried about the Clippers like competing for a championship, like oh, we have so many guards, we need another power forward to really make things happen. This is not like, I feel like the front office, as much as a front office can say this, has kind of said like this year is not a contending year. Like, not in a disrespectful way. They obviously can't go say that, but you know what I mean? Like, and again, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. It's just what all the tea leaves, and
they've been preaching we're going to be competitive over and over again. Ballmer said it today. We think we have a good team.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, as soon as the Paul George contract negotiations went south, I mean, look, in my opinion, the championship window was already closed, but they made the final decision that it was time to move on from that. And this is going to be a different team with different expectations. And it's not as much right now about that singular goal so much as it is building the foundation and trying to get the same sort of quick turnaround that we were able to get when we came out of our last 2-star era. So it's
the timeline works out perfectly.
Yeah, it's just I mean, it's just completely different. And if this team made the plan, I could be pretty happy with that result. If they were able to snag a playoff spot, I mean, I could be happy with that result.
And there's no reason not to be. It's not like it's ruining a draft pick. And maybe this is because my brain is warped from just being a Clippers fan, but the upside of not having a draft pick this season is that these guys are going to go all out and try and win as much as possible in a situation where the roster is maybe not as good as a team should be trying to go out and win as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not going to be outside interference.
I'll say too, I mean, you look at teams who have had the highest draft picks, you're still looking at a longer turnaround time because your overall team is still bad enough for you to be getting into the lottery. And even if you get that generational talent, it's not like you're 1 or 2 seasons away. You know, you're likely at least through that, whatever star ends up popping from those draft picks, you're at least through their first contract and onto their rookie max extension before you're realistically doing much of anything. And I don't think that the Clippers, even in a situation, let's say, where they had draft picks, would be in a position to bottom out. It's not really going to work. It can't work in a market like this where they already have so much competition. There can't be 4 years where this team doesn't have a playoff berth. There can't be 4 years where this is a below 500 team. Like the fans are the fans, and I still think they'll stick with it. But like, I just don't see that happening with this organization, even in the situation that we did have the picks.
People have criticized over the years the Golden State Warriors trying to work on 2 timelines where they have a youth movement while still contending for championships. And to their credit, they won the championship in 2022. Some of those young guys helped them. Plus, they went out and got Andrew Wiggins, who played a big role. Isn't it best case scenario in a realistic NBA universe right now what's happened with the Clippers, considering they lost Paul George, where if you can stay competitive while having that door open for a big move in the future, for a team that doesn't have draft picks right now, that actually has a couple of young guys that are playing really well in Summer League that look like they could be contributors right away, it seems like this is a pretty decent situation considering the pitfalls they're trying to avoid here. Like, they are being nimble, they are being flexible, and they can go from being a competitive team to ascending right back to where they were with being a contender very quickly here. Wouldn't that be the best case scenario?
Absolutely the best case scenario. I'm hoping people have their expectations in some kind of check. Someone on our YouTube was commenting they see this current team, being a 48 to 52 win team. The Clippers have not won 52 games since 2015-2016. And they haven't won 48 games since 2019-2020. So I respect the optimism, but they're not winning. They're not flirting with a 50-win season here. Things could change at the deadline. Maybe maybe something happens. But and that's not bad. This is still going to be a really fun team. You should absolutely find some favorites to watch. But it's just not going to be what it was. If you're new during the 2-1-3 era, welcome. But we're not going to be contenders this year.
Well, they did win 51 games last year, right?
Yeah, but this person said 52.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of. I saw that comment.
A lot of wins.
I think it's unrealistic. He also pointed out how the West looks brutal, but prioritizing defense. And then he comments how it all depends on Mr. Kawhi Leonard. Will he play an entire postseason, and is he still that guy? Let's not get to the postseason yet. Let's talk about Kawhi Leonard and how much he can play in the regular season right now, considering sounds like for 2.5 months he's been dealing with this same knee injury because he said at training camp with Team USA, he had a turnaround a couple of weeks ago. So therefore, March 31st, to that time, about 2.5 months that he has been managing that knee. So it all comes down to Kawhi Leonard and what he can do during the regular season and how many games he can play and how much he can be there for them. And
we were talking kind of how they're keeping the 2026, that 25-26 max slot open. Tomer Azarli, wonderful Clippers reporter, put together this of who's basically going to be available. Some interesting names, if they are available. This is if they make it to that. Hey, Shea, come on back. Maybe Luka Doncic. I don't know, for the freaks out there. But there's going to be a bunch of cap space for the Clippers, and the class at this time is going to be one where it could potentially be nice to have a bunch of cap space and stuff like that. So I don't know if you're worried. Just I have personally made the annoying defensive high playing team bed, and I am nestled in it. So I hope everyone else can make their bet as quickly as they can with that, because I think that's what this team's firmly going to be.
Who's the best player on this list given age at that time? Is it Luka?
Luka or Shea?
Yeah,
like by far. I mean, maybe. I mean, Jaren Jackson.
Something's going to have to go wrong in their current situations
for them to leave.
These guys to want to leave. It's not going to be easy. LeBron's probably going to be out of the league, or at
I
least
don't want
just
50,
about to be out. What are we talking about with some of these other guys, big men? Oh, John Collins is going to be available, guys.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
That's the time to strike and finally get John Collins on this team.
Yeah.
It's been rumored forever. Trae Young, it's tough to win with a guy like that as your point of attack defender. Yeah, Kevin Durant's going to be a couple years older. Jimmy Butler's going to be a couple years older. I thought Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum signs his new deal, which takes him out of this timeline.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Again, this is from Chomera, so any errors, direct them to him.
Yeah, at TOMERAZ. Some other comment that got me irked in our last video that we did yesterday, the live. Galaxy Cat TV, fitting, says Chris Dunn is a loser. He gets in a ton of fights and is less of a player than Russell Westbrook. Westbrook is a way better player. I am losing my patience with the team. You know, Will, we didn't get your comments on Russell Westbrook being moved for Chris Dunn. Now might be a good time.
I mean, it's great. Like it was one of those things that was needing to happen. Look, I think that he's a good person. Like I think that he's a good man. I just I don't know what we were doing with him. It was just kind of apparent that it wasn't working. I'm just glad that we don't have to talk about all the energy and intangibles in our game, in our post game sort of breakdowns. Look,
energy doesn't make up for 8 for 42 in 5 games.
It sure doesn't. And like, I don't know why or how, like the people come to his defense so hard. Again, I do believe that it cuts both ways, because some of the criticism of him does seem awfully personal and awfully fucking weird.
Yes.
But at the same time, so does the fandom. I just can't, I can't sit up here and be like, oh, he did a bunch of good things and stuff after every game anymore. He's not a fit. He's not a fit here, and it's not because of the way the Clippers used him. And when the same thing happens in Denver, it likely won't be because of the way Denver used him.
Lord help the Denver locker room the day that Russell Westbrook plays better than Jamal Murray.
If Nikola Jokic wins the championship with Russell Westbrook, maybe he's looking for a new challenge. Like maybe that's the thing going on here, because people say that Russ is done and not the same guy. And I've called him at this point kind of a 0-level scorer. I like Russ, appreciate what he did, but if you can't make layups, you can't make threes, you can't shoot the mid-range, what are we talking about now? And if you're wondering about the layup thing, go look up the numbers at the rim this past season and how many times those turned into fast break points for the opposition when he smokes a layup like that. It was really tough to watch. So appreciate Russ. The game against Memphis was an all-timer. The way he played against Phoenix with the Clippers being down in that series was great. But Chris Dunn,
does he fight? Where does that come from?
Yeah, to react to Galaxy Cat TV is a much better fit and has an actual skill set that will work for the Clippers right now, which is playing defense and playing some of the better on-ball perimeter defense in the league. That's what Chris Dunn brings from 15 to 20 minutes per night. And his three-point shooting has been a little bit better over the last 2 years too.
Okay, Chris Dunn fought Jabari Smith Jr. He threw a couple punches in an NBA game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Which, come on.
Dog in him. Check the x-rays.
Yeah, check the x-rays, buddy. All right, coming up, we're talking a bunch of stuff that was revealed from the Intuit Dome. There's a very large video board. Terrence Mann was there along with Steve Ballmer and Jillian Zucker. And then I believe we all three have dips today, which is a fantastic bounce back from the last time we did this. So if you're listening on audio, thank you. We're going to do an ad break, and then we're talking Intuit stuff and dips in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. I'm Adam Osland. You're tuned in to Clips and Dip. It's episode 6 of season 3. We got Chuck Mockler, Will Updike this weekend. Probably have some lives for you after the Clippers playoff run and hopefully run to a summer league championship. Hey, if you're going to be there, you might as well win. And I'll take summer league champ over bubble league champ any day.
Okay. Okay. I'm not co-signing that, but go for it, man.
All right, co-sign on this. Our friend Kelly Johnson was there today at Intuit Dome as they unveiled the Halo board, which has a lot more abilities than meets the eye, apparently, here, Chuck. It's not just 360 degrees dual-sided.
Here's the Halo board showing Terrence Mann. This thing is insane. If you're listening to us, just picture a big video board is what we're talking about. If you're watching, thank you for watching.
Caught in 4K.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stats on here. It's pretty crazy. I hope there's some fun animations. So yeah, the Halo board is all that is advertised, and what was advertised was a big old video board.
Doesn't look like Terrence Mann's getting traded anytime soon.
No, he was at this event, which is pretty cool. There's going to be a Ballmer cam on parts of the Halo board where for the Ballmer heads, they can just watch his reactions to stuff.
A little Ballmer picture-in-picture.
Yeah, which we've all wanted that.
I love
and
that.
Then there's t-shirt cannons underneath the Halo board that are seat accurate, is what was told. So if you're
they have a homing system like the red shell in Mario Kart.
So you're in seat, Will's in seat, courtside, obviously.
Will's at the wall.
Those t-shirt cannons can just fire it right into you. Will, how excited are you for the t-shirt cannons?
I don't like this approach. It's taking away jobs. Let the Clipper spirit shoot the damn cannons, okay?
Okay.
Bring the hot dog cannon back. I don't want robots. I don't need your AI, Steve Ballmer. Get out of here.
How are we going to see Kelsey Plum hurl a t-shirt?
What do you want? What do you want? A blockchain hot dog next?
Yeah.
Come on.
Like counterpoint. These t-shirt cannons can now reach any seat. So anywhere you sit, you can win a t-shirt now. That wasn't the case before.
That's because it's called making the most noise, and that's how you get a t-shirt.
That's good too.
They could walk up higher and throw t-shirts to people in the upper deck. That's not like that technology.
Get Kelsey Plum out.
That's what I'm saying. I like this. I like this take that the t-shirt cannon is taking jobs. I'm on board with this take.
Oh my god.
What will they take from us next?
What are robots going to take? We can't even throw t-shirts anymore.
I mean, you got Bronny James taking some guy's job in the NBA when he shouldn't be. And now you got these t-shirt kids.
Don't lump us in with those
I'm
people.
kidding.
They're taking movies off physical media. They're not letting humans throw t-shirts at basketball games anymore. There's noise meters, so if you're the loudest fan, you get deals at the team store.
That's freaking awesome. The incentive to be as loud as possible in the new arena is really cool to me.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
There's nothing that could be a better fan experience than just if you're the loudest, you win. So I don't know what are people going to bring in like their own. They're not going to do anything like that, right? They're not going to bring in their own artificial sound or something like that.
I don't think we haven't had.
I brought my Beats pill with me to the game or
We've requested a bunch of detail about Intuit security, and we have gotten no information back yet. So when we get that information, we'll let everybody know. And it was revealed that the Clippers' first regular season home game is going to be October 23rd at Intuit Dome. So I'm going to send my press credential request right now.
Same. I'm excited. Who would you guys want to see as the first opponent at Intuit Dome?
Someone who we're going to beat the shit out of. I don't care. The Blazers, right? Will, am I wrong on this? I just want to see a win, dude. It's like...
Yeah, Blazers, Spurs.
If you say Lakers, it's like, but then if they win the first game and we'll never hear the end of that.
We should play I wish we could play like an FCS team, like FBS.
Shanghai Sharks are coming, baby.
Yeah, like can we? I hope. I don't know. Who do you want to see them play out of? It's got to be someone they can.
76ers. What's the other team? The Australian 86ers or something like that. Yeah, I would go somebody in the West. the Portland Trailblazers, who they opened up with last season, they beat the brakes off of them. Yeah,
Sign me up.
that's probably not
Spurs?
the worst way to go. It's slim pickings in the Western Conference to find a team that's really far down there. The Spurs, I don't know, man. They got Wemby, he could go off. They got CP3. Do you want him to open up Intuit Dome?
Fuck. It feels like a no-win. I don't know.
You're dodging a lot of landmines here.
Detroit. I want them to
the
play
Scoot
Detroit.
Henderson landmine is the one you want to land on.
Yeah. We'll all three be there the 23rd. Should be a good time. And now the most important part of the episode. Okay, sure.
After some of the dips we've had, God willing.
Speaking of dips, we all three have dips, correct? All right. Oh, no. I don't know if Adam does. Will had Zin last time we did a standalone episode, which no one commented on, which I
Different type of dip.
Which I thought was fascinating.
Good dip. You can bring it to a barbecue.
You can. I might do some Levi Garrett.
Yeah, you can bring it to a baby shower. You can bring it to whatever you want.
Adam, what dip do you have? What chip do you have? Would you bring it to a barbecue?
All right. I bought a dip that I thought wouldn't be so good because I knew it's not good for me, and I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be so addicting that I'd try to eat the whole damn thing.
Not how it works.
Yeah, I messed up. I done did it. I got what I thought would be pretty bad, a Frito-Lay jalapeno and cheese queso dip, and it's actually pretty solid. Turns out it is hard to get a queso dip that's that bad. I mean, I got pretty addicted to eating almost the entire thing. Also, thanks to my, Terra real vegetable chips, sweet potato, sea salt chips. These are very good too.
One of our more exotic chip options. Would you bring it to a barbecue?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I may not tell them it's Frito-Lay. I could be like, this is my home remedy, jalapeno cheese dip, guys. Check it out.
You're an old man. This has been 50 years.
Well, home remedies are old. I mean, passed down from generations like that shirt.
There you go. All right, Will. What dip and what chip are you eating?
I got a signature select tzatziki.
Ooh.
And some broccoli florets. It's delightful. No, it's a good dip. I enjoy a tzatziki. This one isn't especially cucumbery, but it's got a lot of dill, which I think is, if you're not going to go super cucumbery, go heavy on the dill. I'm digging it. Low carb. I think instead of I just had these broccoli florets, but I think that this would be really good with, I guess pita if you eat bread, or some cucumber slices. I think they're really tasty
to balance out the cucumber from the.
Yeah.
Would you take this to a barbecue?
Yeah. I think I kind of make a better tzatziki than this personally.
Sure.
But yeah, if I didn't have the time, then sure. Yeah.
You were running late. You had a meeting before the barbecue.
Yeah, of course.
I went with a classic that has made an appearance. I went with the Trader Joe's Buffalo style chicken dip. Everyone's been raving about the buffalo dip. It's fantastic. I am eating it with salt and pepper chips. I can't remember what brand they are, but this is great. I would bring it to a barbecue, and if it was on a random day, it would be a perfect storm of all of us bringing this dip. I feel like, because it's been mentioned multiple times. So I think we're 3 for 3 on dips today for the barbecue. Whatever barbecue we're going to is crushing it. So way to go us. Adam's eating it with his finger, which is quasi-disturbing.
We're armed, low calorie. There's a low calorie option right here.
And I hope so. All right, so Adam, you're going to be doing some Uncle Oslin's Summer League Freaks Only lives.
Yeah, if you guys are watching the game, well, come on, I'll send out the link. But
send the link.
I'm guessing they're going to be one of the 4 teams. It would take, just an absurd amount of domino effects and somebody to win by like 40 for them not to be one of the top 4 teams. And that's how it works right now in the Summer League. The top 4 teams, they go on into a tournament. 2 games are played for the eventual winner, I guess. Everybody else, the other 26, has to play a 5th game. So Clippers have been elite in the Summer League.
Well, there we go. Uncle Austin's Freaks Only Summer League Live will be here for you on the weekend. Maybe Will and I will show up, some combination of us. We're going to be back next week Will, where can these wonderful listeners find us, or maybe even leave their thoughts on the podcast itself?
Yeah, totally. So you can find us over on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Probably the best way to find us and let us know your thoughts. You can comment, obviously, on every single video. If you're more of an audio person, we're available wherever you get your audio podcasts. We're on Amazon Music. We're on Spotify. We're on Pandora. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. If you listen over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can share your thoughts over there. We'd really appreciate it. But no matter how you consume this show, we appreciate you.
We really do. And before we get out of here, Adam, we need one positive thing before sending these Clippers fans into their weekends.
The dry powder Clippers era is underway. They are staying ready, keeping the powder dry for big opportunities while being competitive now, which I'd say that's the best of both worlds. If they're able to juggle those two things, and I know one of them takes priority over the other, which is holding on to that flexibility. Not always easy to maintain a really competitive ball club while keeping flexibility, but it looks like on paper right now this Clippers team is going to be significantly better defensively. And if they have Kawhi Leonard and James Harden for enough of the games, they're going to be okay on offense still too. So I like what we've seen so far with them bouncing back after losing Paul George.
There we go. From the positive man himself. We will be with y'all next week. Adam will be with you later at some point. And as always, let's go Clips.